The devil is in the details, so that's why the details of the logic of freedom have been obfuscated. They've been purposely hidden. They've been purposely made to be difficult to discern, because if you understand this logic, if you understand these details of reasoning, they won't be able to continually deceive people generation after generation. So I'm going to repeat the logic in a more succinct fashion here, and I hope you find it insightful and helpful. So, number one, the good goal is to reduce suffering and increase well-being. Number two, sickness is a form of suffering. Health is a form of well-being. Number three, slavery is a form of suffering. Freedom is a form of well-being. 3a, medical mandates are a form of slavery. 3b, slavery is equivalent to medical mandates, is equivalent to suffering. 4, medical mandates are not a solution to a sickness because they are fundamentally another form of suffering, just as the sickness is. And adding suffering is not a solution to the problem of suffering. Again, you have to look at what the fundamental goal is, not lose sight of that. Right? What is the fundamental goal that is supposedly being aimed toward? Right? To reduce suffering and increase well-being. So, again, medical mandates are not a solution to a sickness, because any solution to a sickness is fundamentally supposed to be a solution to the problem of suffering. But if medical mandates themselves are a form of suffering, because they're equivalent to slavery, which is equivalent to suffering, then they aren't addressing the fundamental problem of sickness, which is also suffering. Even if the mandates completely eliminated the sickness, which of course they did not even come close to doing, to just put it mildly, adding one form of suffering in replacement of another form of suffering is not a solution to the problem of suffering. Again, you have to realize that reduction of suffering is the fundamental goal, and suffering can come in more than one form. Again, those two main forms being sickness and slavery. So, decreasing suffering due to sickness while increasing suffering due to slavery is not a real solution to the problem of suffering. Okay, another small set of logic here on the term safety. Safety is defined as protection from injury, which can be reworded as freedom from suffering, right? Because why do you want to be protected from injury? Because to be injured is a cause of suffering, and we want to avoid suffering. Number two, abuse of control is a form of slavery, and slavery is a form of suffering. So again, abuse of control or slavery does not reduce suffering, it actually increases suffering. So it does not increase safety, because safety again is supposed to be freedom from suffering. So if you can hold on to point number one there, that safety, the definition of safety is freedom from suffering, and then you have a solution that actually increases suffering, it cannot be an increase in safety. The less love and freedom is the more abuse and the more suffering. The more love and freedom is the less abuse and the less suffering. So, again, replacing one form of suffering with another form of suffering is not a solution to the problem of suffering. It's as simple as that, and that's why everyone should oppose the communism that has taken shape in the form of this medical tyranny, because they're proposing to reduce suffering in the world by increasing suffering in the form of slavery. So you need to recognize again that suffering comes in these two main forms, sickness and slavery. You should not be looking to have any of each. Again, the goal is to reduce suffering, increase well-being. We want more health and more freedom. So if someone is promoting health and freedom simultaneously, then that's someone worth listening to. But if someone is promoting greater health and less freedom, that's not a real solution. Okay, I hope this reasoning made sense to you and that you'll share it with others. Thanks for listening.